another episode of Varsity360. I'm Columbian sports editor Micah Rice, joined this week by Tim Martinez, and we are here to talk about what was probably the highlight of our sports coverage last year with the All-Region Awards ceremony. We're doing it again. We're doing it in a bigger venue, and we're here to talk about just what that event is going to look like, who our keynote speaker is, and what you as parents and athletes and coaches can expect from that evening on June 3rd at the Hilton in downtown Vancouver. Tim, I know this is a project that you and I invest a lot of time in, along with a lot of other people, but it's probably one of the most fun nights that we have all year.
Yeah, last year the event was well received at the Kiggins Theater. We had this packed standing room only. We had people in the aisles just trying to squeeze in. This year at the Hilton, we get a larger room. I think the seating capacity at the Kiggins Theater last year was around 340, 350. We've got seating capacity seat for 500 this year, so we get another 150 or so seats in the facility, which will open it up for more people. I know there were a lot of people last year who wanted to attend, and we had to say no. We had to try to make room for all of our athletes who we honored. During the course of the year in our all-region process, the fall, winter, and spring, we honor about 246 athletes. Those are not unique athletes because we have some athletes who are all-region in multiple sports. So it comes to around 230 to 240 different athletes who get honored as an all-region honoree. And last year we had 170 come into the event at the Kiggins Theater, and we'd like to get a similar number, a better number this year, people to come and be honored and celebrate the 2024-25 athletic school year.
All right, another difference you might notice if you attend this year's event is it's going to be sort of banquet style seating around round tables, 10 people to a table, and you're also going to get food and drinks in the price of admission, so we got you covered for that. So we're going to get into kind of what the show is going to look like, what you can expect, and why it'll be worth your while to attend. But I think the biggest thing that we're thrilled about this week is we have a very special guest who's going to be our keynote speaker, and that is the Honorable Judge Camara Banfield, former state champion sprinter at Mountain View High School, went on to become a 4-time NCAA All-American at the University of Oregon, where she was inducted into that school's Athletic Hall of Fame in 2008. She returned to Clark County to work in the Clark County Prosecutor's Office, and in 2021, she was appointed a judge on the Clark County Superior Court, becoming the first Black woman to achieve that in the history of this county. So a trailblazer, in her professional life, but also an outstanding athlete. We can't wait to hear her message about how sports have sort of set her up, and I'm sure she's going to have a wonderful set of things to deliver, and following in some very big footsteps from last year's speaker, the Olympian Kara Winger. I can't wait to hear from Camara Banfield in her address this year.
Yeah, I mean, she's an example of an outstanding local high school athlete who went on to do great things as a collegiate athlete, and now is making a big impact in the community in other ways. So we're interested to hear in what the lessons that she learned from being an athlete and how she's carried that forward into her professional life.
Well, and I know that was definitely a highlight of last year's address, hearing Kara Winger give kind of not only tell her personal story, but really give you a look behind the curtain of what it's like to be a high-achieving athlete. And the case of Kara, telling about her journey to become an Olympian, eventually being awarded as the flag bearer in the closing ceremonies, but also, how her journey was really set up by the lessons she learned in her experience in high school sports.
Yeah, it was a great presentation that she had for us last year. She's we've talked to her and we've known Kara for years, and so it was great to be able to see her share her message directly with high school athletes, coaches, and folks in the community.
Yeah, so you'll get a similar, I'm sure, inspiring message from Camara Banfield as well. And then afterwards, we're going to get down to honoring the athletes of the year in each sport. But also, even if you weren't the athlete of the year in your sport, if you made an all-region team, you're not going to go home empty-handed. We want you to be part of the program. Tim, why don't you explain kind of what that's going to look like this year for the entire all-region team in each
Right.
sport?
You know, last year, for folks who attended the event last year, what we did for the athletes who were all-region, on part of the all-region team, is we had a slide presentation up on the screen where we announced the name, and then we could celebrate them in sort of communally as a group there. But this year we're going to try to every honoree is going to walk out of the Hilton that night with something to commemorate their achievement as being an all-region athlete. In past years, we have delivered to schools a print version, like a printable print version of the all-region team that we create with our e-edition. When we announced the teams in the fall and in the winter. And you and I last year, we delivered those to the schools to be handed out to athletes as part of a way to promote the first time event last year. Well, this year we decided not to distribute those as a promotion event, because what we found is that there was a disconnect between, when you get this thing in December or March and an event that happens in June, you kind of don't really connect what's happening. So we're going to save those. If you show up on June 3rd, you will walk away with a printed copy and also another an honor award that will commemorate your selection as an all-region athlete. And we're going to take time out to give you the spotlight this year. We're going to try to spread that spotlight not just on the athletes of the year, but all of those 246 honorees that we select during the course of the year. And so that's one thing that we're trying to be different, trying to make it a little bit more so that everyone gets a chance to be honored when they come that night.
Well, I remember one of the highlights of last year's event was obviously during the course of the show, we'd bring up the athlete of the year in each sport to come up on stage, get their portrait, get a photo, and then, but one of the highlights for me was at the end of the program when we kind of said, turn the house lights on in the theater, and every athlete that is here out in the seating area, please stand up and get your applause. So obviously we want to do that, but also have it be where the athletes get more of a spotlight, even if they aren't the athlete of the year. So I think if we get in a situation where a majority of, say, the all-region volleyball team or the all-region basketball team or just any of the teams is there and can come up on stage sort of with the athlete of the year, that will be a great way to highlight the achievements of all those athletes.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you go to a high school graduation, everyone gets that little brief moment of recognition, and that's what we're going to try to incorporate into our event, where people can come up on stage and be recognized, sort of individually, but along with their all-region team. So we wanted to make it special for all of the all-region honorees, not just the 23 athletes of the year.
So that kind of touches on some of the little tweaks we wanted to make from last year's show. But I think going back to last year's show, it was going into it, we didn't know how it was going to turn out. We didn't know if anybody was going to show up. And then it sort of built momentum and kind of had this flurry where we booked a lot of seats in the last couple of weeks leading up to it. We don't want that to be the case this year, because that's why we're trying to get the word out early. But what do you remember, Tim, about last year's show being sort of the things that stuck with you about what made it a special event?
The thing that made it a special event for me was just the people who came out, the 170 athletes who came out on that. We did it last week. Did we do it on a Tuesday night last week? Did we do it on a Wednesday night?
I believe it was a Wednesday.
It was a Wednesday night. It was the Wednesday night of the week leading into the graduations for most of the schools. So it's a busy week. There are, baccalaureate and senior awards and team banquets and things going on. So it's a busy week happening, and yet we still got 170 of our 240 or so athletes to come and attend, and then their friends and families and coaches were there, and we had people. That's the thing that stuck most with me was just the amount of people who came and showed up that night and celebrated these high school athletes and high school sports in general. I think that's the part and then all of we had almost most of our athletes of the year in each individual sport show up, as well as some of our multi-sport athlete finalists were there as well. It just, all the people came up to show up to this thing that we didn't know who exactly was going to show up or how it was going to turn out. And then the response that we got afterwards from people who were there, coaches, families, athletes, administrators from schools, and they really appreciated the event. And I think that's the part of that got me excited about coming back and do it again for another year.
Well, you said one word that I think is really apt in your memory of last year, and that is celebrate. And I think not only for me, what stood out was not only not knowing how many people are going to show up, but what was the vibe in the room going to be like? And the vibe really was kind of like a party, like a celebration. And to give you an example of that, it was you could really tell that they were the kids weren't there just to be like, oh, I get my 90 seconds in the spotlight and this is for me and my family. It's like they were really into honoring each other. And for example, like when a Camas kid would come up on stage, be like, oh, there's the rest of the Camas crew over there on that side of the theater. They had a few dozen and they were all cheering for each other. And even like, I remember when Maddie Milhorn, the softball player, came up, not only did she have her Skyview crew that was there cheering for her and her family, but all the other softball players at different schools whom I know her through the club scene and everything. So it really felt like everyone was there to toast each other and celebrate each other, and that just made for a very festive feeling in that.
Yeah, room. I remember the same kind of thing. I remember like looking down and seeing a bunch of the soccer players that from the different schools, and they were all like, I noticed they were all sort of hanging out together. We didn't really have like a seating chart to tell people where to sit, like soccer players here, football players there. They just kind of, naturally sort of grouped together and were hanging out. And so it was fun to see them all sort of celebrating each other's accomplishments during the course of the year.
And I think we're going to go for a similar target when we arrange the seating this year. Obviously, it's not going to be theater style like it is in the Kiggins, but we're going to want to have it to where the tables near the front of the stage, those will be all athletes, and they'll be that's where they can hang out and catch up and relive some memories, and then the families will be and the coaches will be sitting sort of around them in the backs and to the sides, but we want that center front area to really be reserved for the athletes.
Absolutely. Let's talk about what athletes need to do, what friends and family need to do to be part of this event.
Well, definitely register. Go to it's Columbian at Ticket Bud. I think we'll put the address, but go online. You can register. Again, if you're an athlete who is a part of an all-region team, you don't have to be the athlete of the year, but if you're on an all-region team, this is free. But we need to know you're showing up.
Right, because we are holding a portion of the seating for athletes. Again, last year we had about 170 show up. We are holding a part of that house. But if not all of those seats get used, if there is an overflow of the remaining seats, a wait list perhaps, we want to be able to open up those seats to people who want to attend, who aren't going to be, if the athletes aren't going to be filling their allotted seats. So we need to know that you're going to be there so we can make sure to have a spot for you, and we make sure we have a spot for anyone else who wants to attend as well. So one question that we've been having is like, some people, they don't know if they were an all-region athlete because maybe they missed the announcement, especially if it happened back in the fall. So if you go into the link of this video or in the comment section, we're going to drop a link. We have a blog post up on our high school blog. You can find our high school blogs at 360preps.com. There is a link in there where we have a list of all of our all-region athletes who have been selected in the sports for the fall season and the winter season. Now, the spring honorees won't be announced until about the middle of May. Normally, when we select our all-region teams for the spring for baseball, for fast pitch softball, boys soccer, track, girls tennis, girls golf, we usually select them after state, but because of the timing of this event, and the timing of the state championships are a little bit different this year. In previous years, all the state championships ended on the same week, the week leading into Memorial Day weekend. All the state champions, golf, tennis, track, baseball, softball, soccer, was that week. This year, the week leading into Memorial Day weekend is the state championship for golf, tennis, and fast pitch softball. The next weekend, which is the weekend of like May 30th and 31st, that's the state championship finals for baseball, boys soccer, and track and field. So they're going to be finishing up the spring sports state championships on May 31st, and then our event is on June 3rd. So it's like 72 hours later. So it's a very tight window. So we're going to accelerate our selection process of our spring all-region teams and athletes of the year, so that we can try to give those athletes and their families as much notice as possible that they are eligible to come to this event and be celebrated. Last year, again, it was a less tight window, but it was still a pretty tight window.
Yeah.
Maybe about 10 days or 2 weeks or so. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, I just heard this. I just heard that I am an all-region track and field athlete." And this was like Saturday before the event on this coming up Wednesday. And where do I go to register? And by that time, all of our seats were starting to be filled up and stuff. And we were moving people around and trying to squeeze everybody in. So we will notify all region honorees, probably going through the schools, starting around mid-May, third week in May, to let them know you are an all-region athlete, you are invited to this event. And we're also holding a portion of so right now people can go onto that site. They can also go to, if you go to any story that we write about high school sports, whether it be a feature or prep highlights, there will be an embed in there, a link that will take you to this event page where you can register. You can register if you're an all-region athlete, and then you can also purchase tickets if you're a family member or friend or coach. They're $15, which again includes food and drink for the night. We've reserved a portion of those that can be purchased now, but we've held some back for those the families and friends of the kids who are going to be selected during the spring season. So we don't want to block them out. We want to make sure that they have an opportunity to get a seat as well. So again, if you're want to check if you're an all-region athlete, the link will be in the comment section of the video. You can click on that. You can go look down and go, oh, yep, there's my name. And then you can go and register and put your name on that list, so we know that you're going to be there and we can be prepared for having you there. And if you have friends and family who want to go and purchase tickets, they can also go to the same link, and there's the link there to go and purchase tickets.
Yeah, I think we were trying to find a price point for this year that wasn't, we're looking to hopefully break even on this event. We're not going to make any money on the backs of the high school athletes. We're doing this as a way to celebrate the achievements and the teams and the teammates and the message and the importance of high school sports. So $15 including food, of course, if then free if you're an athlete. Like I said, it'll be a nonprofit event, but something that I think is worthwhile for a news outlet that is community focused like we are here to do every year. Yeah,
and we also have to get a shout out to the Hilton. They're a partner in putting on this event, and we appreciate their support and helping us put on this event and give us a bigger room to do it in. So
yes, that is a very important thing to say, that they were in on the very start by giving us an in-kind contribution with the space and the AV setup and the food and everything. So a big shout out to the Hilton. I can't wait to see how the event looks like in that room. So
yeah.
All right. Well, again, we'll drop the link for tickets into the comments of this episode, as well as the list of all region athletes. But June 3rd is going to be a really fun evening. It's the perfect capstone to our efforts all year, where we go out and cover from like the first cross country meets in the fall all the way through state championships and ending Memorial Day weekend. But this event at the end is a perfect capstone to really celebrate the achievements of the best high school athletics have to offer in Southwest Washington. So be sure to show up if you can on June 3rd, and it's going to be a fun night.
Yeah, looking forward to it. There's a lot of things we got to do between now and then to get ready for this show. But again, if you have any questions about tickets, about the event, and about how things are going to work, you can drop comments into the comment section of this video. You can also email at sports@columbian.com. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. That was another thing, was the communication last year. Last year, we did a lot of reaching out to athletes and saying, hey, you're all-region athlete of the year in this sport, and you're going to be honored. Sometimes the communications between teenagers and their parents, and we both know this because we either are parents of teenagers or some parents of teenagers who have grown up a little bit more. We know that communication doesn't always happen, so we want to make sure that everyone knows exactly what's happening. We know the athletes know what's going on, the parents know what's going on, friends, family, coaches, and we'll be reaching out to the athletic directors and the schools of all the schools that have had all-region athletes selected in the fall and winter, and say, here's some more information. They're going to get some more information out to the schools that way to make sure that everyone knows what's going on, and just trying to get the word out and make sure everyone knows. And we want to make sure that because again, last year it felt like I think the one thing that maybe didn't work out as well as we hope is that there was this rush of interest right at the very end, and we were a little bit overwhelmed, and we want to make sure that everyone is aware as soon as possible, so everyone who wants to be there can be there.
All right, save the date. Tuesday, June 3rd, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Hilton in downtown Vancouver. We look forward to that night, and hopefully you can attend, and hopefully you tune in to the show next week. We'll have more to talk about with high school sports and some of the amendments that were just either passed or narrowly failed. We'll have more to get into on that. But as always, thanks for tuning in this week. We'll see you next week, and hopefully we'll see you